Good morning, boys and girls. This is our story on the back of our lesson. Oh, and it's another part one. Charlie and the Bridge, part one. A long time ago, farmers who grew grains such as wheat and barley and rye didn't go to stores to buy flour. They took their grain to mills, and the miller would grind their grain into flour. Then the farmers would take the flour back home for their wives to make bread and other baked things, like cookies and cakes and muffins. Our story this week is about something that happened many years ago in the state of Rhode Island. We don't know the names of the people, nor the name of the horse in our story, but we'll call the father Farmer Jones and his little son George. We'll call the horse Charlie. Charlie was a gentle, obedient old horse. Farmer Jones had taught George how to drive their wagon, and he was never worried that Charlie was hitched to the wagon. When Farmer Jones would ask George to go on an errand for him, he knew that Charlie wouldn't give George any troubles. One day, Farmer Jones would ask George to go on an errand for him. One day, Farmer Jones' wife needed some more rye flour. So Farmer Jones hitched old Charlie to the wagon and then called George. "Please take this sack of rye to the mill and have it ground," he said to his young son, as he put the sack of rye onto the wagon. George was always glad to drive the wagon for his father, so soon he was sitting in the driver's seat and holding the reins as Charlie trotted along the dirt road on their way to the mill. George felt very grown up when he got to drive all by himself. Looking down the road, George saw that they would soon be on the bridge they had to go over before they got to the mill. The bridge didn't have any railings, but George wasn't worried. He knew that old Charlie had gone over that bridge many times before. When they got to the bridge, old Charlie walked as he usually did, but when he got to the middle of the bridge, he stopped. George wondered why. "Giddy up, Charlie," George told him as he slapped the reins on old Charlie's back. Charlie had always obeyed, but this time Charlie did not obey. Oh. In fact, he started backing up. George did his best to get old Charlie to stop backing up and to go ahead, but Charlie still didn't obey. In fact, he kept backing up. Now George was frightened. Suddenly, he didn't feel very grown up at all. He wished his father were there to tell him what to do. Why didn't old Charlie obey like he always had? What if he kept backing up until the wagon went over the side of the bridge and fell into the water? "Jesus, please help me, quickly. I'm scared," George said, right out loud. But old Charlie took another step or two backward, and suddenly one of the back wheels of the wagon did go over the edge of the bridge. George heard the sack of rye flour slide off the wagon and fall with a big splash into the stream below. At the very same time, old Charlie stopped backing up and then stood perfectly still. To be continued.